found the VHS tape lying in the grass on my walk home from school, half buried under a pile of fallen leaves. There was no case, just a worn black tape with no label, but something about it drew me in. Maybe it was the curiosity or maybe it was the boredom, but I slipped it into my backpack without a second thought. Later that night, I popped the tape into the VHS in the living room. The screen flickered with static and then cut to a cheerful, colorful scene with a group of puppets bouncing around a dirt path through a dense, sun-damped forest. Their voices were chirpy, like something out of an old children's show. One of them, a lanky puppet with button eyes, sang a silly song about exploring the woods, and the others clapped along. It seemed harmless at first, maybe even a little nostalgic, reminded me of the shows I'd seen as a kid. But then the atmosphere shifted. The puppets stumbled upon something out of place in a vibrant setting. A coffin. It stood upright, black and weathered, and then an eerie contrast to the playful surroundings of one of the puppets. The smallest one, with the red scarf, approached it cautiously. Its fingers were trembling. The others urged him on with the nervous giggles, like they were all in on some joke. As soon as the puppet reached out to touch the coffin, it creaked open with a loud groan. Inside was another puppet, but this one was different. It was pale with sunken eyes and fanged teeth. Its expression was twisted into a wicked grin, and before any of them could react, it lunged at the puppet with the scarf, its hands snapping around his neck. The camera zoomed in as the vampire's puppet's teeth sank into the felt, tearing it apart like flesh. The other puppets screamed, their high-pitched voices distorted as the vampire turned on them one by one. It was brutal. Their deaths were more horrifying than anything I'd ever seen. Limbs being torn apart, stuffing spilling out like blood, their fabric bodies mangled beyond recognition. The once cheerful forest now filled with their screams. I was frozen in place, unable to look away, and then it happened. The vampire suddenly stopped and slowly turned towards the screen, towards me. Its eyes locked in with mine, and I swear it felt it saw me. It didn't feel like a scene from a show anymore. It felt personal. It stared unblinking through the screen, its grin stretching wider and wider for what felt like hours. We just stared at each other, my heart pounding in my chest, and then without warning, it broke into a run, charging towards the camera, towards me. I panicked, fumbling for the remote, but it wasn't fast enough. The puppet's face grew larger and larger, its mouth wide and open. Ready to devour me, I scrambled out of my chair, yanking the plug from the wall just as it was about to crash through the screen. The TV went dark and the sudden silence ringing in my ear. I stood there shaking, staring at the black screen, trying to convince myself it was just some twisted old show, but something about it felt too real. Days passed, but I couldn't shake it, even without the TV off. I still heard the screams, like they were coming from somewhere deep inside my head, and every time I would close my eyes, I saw the puppet's face grinning at me, like it was waiting for me. I kept asking myself, who would make something like this, and why? Why would anyone make this for kids? I don't have the answers, but I haven't touched that VHS tape since. I don't even know where it is now, but every night I hear the screams getting louder, and I can't help but wonder, did I leave something unfinished, or is it coming back for me?